Welcome to the new book releases for the week of February 5th. There are so many exciting ones, and I know a lot of people are looking for the continuation ones, but there's some new series to check out on here too. If you're new here, hi, I'm Morgan. There will be timestamps per genre, so you can click around. I'm going to mispronounce things, but without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our first one. I tried to organize the genres a bit better this time because sometimes I don't, and then all of a sudden I end up going from YA to romance, and it feels weird. It does. So we're starting with YA fantasy. This way we get a better movement through it without feeling that's an odd transition. YA fantasy, our first up is going to be Tales of the Celestial Kingdom by Sue Lin Tan, and it notes that Kelly Kong is the illustrator under the byline, which this is because this is not exactly a new novel within her duology. Instead, it's a compilation of 9 stories, 2 of them that you have seen published before, and 7 of them that are original new stories, just compiled together. They take place before, during, and after the events of the duology, and these stories will take place throughout it, including an epilogue of the duology, and it will have the beautiful artwork throughout. So if you were looking for a new novel, unfortunately, that's not this, but it will give you more of the world and magic that she created in this story. Next up, we have the continuation to the This Woven Kingdom series by Tara Mafi. It's All This Twisted Glory. I think the first book was called This Woven Kingdom, and it follows Azela, who is apparently the long-lost heir of the Jin Kingdom, who is hiding as a servant, and also the Crown Prince, who has heard the prophecies of death of the king, but he never imagined that the servant girl with the strange eyes that he can't stop thinking about is the one that's going to uproot the kingdom and the world. And then our last one at the end of YA, because it's kind of YA, kind of also classified as new adult, and my chair is spinning, is going to be the next in the Halfling saga, A Vicious Game by Melissa Blair. She has also confirmed that the next book in the series will be releasing next January. Our first book's story, though, revolves around Kira. She's a killer. As the King's Blade, she is the most talented spy and assassin in the kingdom. When a mysterious figure moves against the crown, Kira is called upon to hunt down this so-called shadow. She tracks her target into the magical lands of Fae, but Faeland is not what it seems, and neither is the shadow. Kira is shocked by what she learns and can't help but wonder who her enemy truly is, the king that destroyed her people or the shadow that threatens the peace. We move now into regular fantasy with The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the first in a new series called The Shadow of the Leviathan. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I couldn't say that word. In D'Artagnan's greatest mansion, a high imperial officer lies dead, killed to all appearances when a tree erupted from his body. Like, if that doesn't set the tone for you of how this novel is going to be, assigned to investigate is Anna Dolbara, a detective whose reputation for brilliance is matched only by her eccentricities. Rumor has it that she wears a blindfold at all times, and that she can solve impossible cases without even stepping outside the walls of her home. Kind of. Everybody was a bit confused that she wasn't leaving her house. At her side is her new assistant, Denios Cole, magically altered in ways that make him the perfect aid to Anna's brilliance. Den is at turns scandalized, perplexed, and utterly infuriated by his new superior. But as the case unfolds and he watches Anna's mind leap from one startling deduction to the next, he must admit that she is indeed the Empire's greatest detective. As the two close in on a mastermind and uncovers a scheme that threatens the Empire itself, Den realizes he's barely begun to assemble the puzzle that is Anna Dolbara, and wonders how long he'll be able to keep his own secrets safe from her piercing intellect. Up next is probably a lot of people's most anticipated book of February, and this is the next one in the Empire of the Wolf series trilogy. Trials of Empire by Richard Swan. This one follows the justices who are, if I believe I've heard it right, is the judge, jury, and executioners for the Empire as they are investigating. I do believe, though, it's told in a way of like somebody looking back on their life. Let me just read the description for the first book. The Empire of the Wolf simmers with unrest. Rebels, heretics, and powerful patricians all challenge the power of the imperial throne. Only the Order of Justices stand in the way of chaos. Sir Conrad Vaught, the most feared justice of all, upholding the law by way of his sharp mind, arcane powers, and skill as a swordsman. At his side stands Helena Sindaka, his talented protege orphaned by the wars that forged the Empire. When the pair investigates the murder of a provincial aristocrat, they unearth a conspiracy that stretches all the way to the very top of the Imperial Society. As the stakes rise and become even more personal, Von Val and Helena must make a choice. Will they abandon the laws they've sworn to uphold in order to protect the Empire? I feel like there should have been an order there, but there wasn't. It's okay. It's okay. Then we have the start to a new intriguing series called The Blood Folk. Its first title is going to be The Blood Kingdom by Kate Cunningham. A dark omen, an ominous gift. A chance encounter with a handsome stranger that no one else remembers. Aurelia's life has always been dictated by court politics and the watchful eye of nobility. But the glamour of court life is an ever-tightening noose, one that will never allow her to marry the man she loves or question the decisions that are made for her future. A predictable, monotonous future. The only escape from the gilded cage surrounding her is the book she pulls first from the library. Descriptions of places beyond the pristine palace walls, stories of the monsters that prowled the shades long ago. Tales of dark beings who possess darker powers and threaten to wipe out humanity, creatures that have been dead for centuries along with the magic that once ruled their world, if it ever existed at all. But when Aurelia's father is murdered, and the clues left behind will lead her into a world much older and much more dangerous than she ever could have imagined. Another new trilogy is going to be the Talamont trilogy. Its first book is The Burning Land by David Hare. The Falcons are knights of the Vestal Order, pledged to use their powers to protect the Empire of Talamont from the cruel Vir and the carnage they have unleashed upon the world. When the Falcons take a Vir alive, they go against the protocols of the Vestal Order and interrogate him. They are horrified to learn, if the Vir speaks truly, that the Empire's worst enemy may not be the Vir, but the Vestal Order itself. Led by the charismatic Romara Chalice, the Falcons go rogue, their quest for the truth taking them through burning forests, lost ruins, and the uncanny traces of a dying race, desperate to find answers before it's too late. Which, oddly, I really thought this one came out last year, so maybe it had gotten pushed back, or maybe I was reading about it for this year. I don't remember anymore. I really don't. Our one romantasy for this week, though, is going to be Bride by Allie Hazelwood. I also think this is going to be one of the book box books for the adult ones. Misery Lark, the only daughter of the most powerful vampire councilman of the Southwest, is an outcast again. Her days of living in anonymity among the humans are over. She has been called upon to uphold a historic peacekeeping alliance between the vampires and their mortal enemies, the Wares, and she sees little choice but to surrender herself in the exchange. Again. Wares are ruthless and unpredictable, and their alpha, Lo Moreland, is no exception. He rules his pack with absolute authority, but not without justice. And unlike the Vampire Council, not without feeling. It's clear from the way he tracks Misery's every movement that he doesn't trust her, if only he knew how right he was. Because Misery has her own reasons to agree to this marriage of convenience, reasons that have nothing to do with politics or alliances, and everything to do with the only thing she's ever cared about. And she's willing to do whatever it takes to get back what's hers. Our romance this week is Just Stab Me Now by Jill Barrett. A desperate mother, a dubious escort, and a deranged author who won't leave them alone. Caroline Lindley is determined that her new romance novel will be her best one yet. Fantasy, formal gowns, fencing, and of course, a 20-something heroine to star in an enemies to lovers plot with all of Caroline's favorite tropes. But Lady Rosamund Hawkhurst is a 36-year-old widow. She has a war to stop and 2 children to get home to, and flatly refuses to take the correct approach to there being only one bed. What's an author to do, especially when discussions with her editor might reveal that he and Lady Rosamund's hot enemy have suspicious similarities? And our mystery this week is The Antique Hunter's Guide to Murder by C.L. Miller. What antique would you kill for? Freya Lockwood is shocked when she learns that author Crockleford, antique stealer, and her estranged mentor has died under mysterious circumstances. She has spent the last 20 years avoiding her quaint English hometown, but when she receives a letter from Arthur asking her to investigate, sent just days before his death, Freya has no choice but to return to the life she has sworn to leave behind. Joining forces with her eccentric Aunt Carol, Freya follows clues and her instincts to an old manor house for an advertised antiques enthusiast weekend. But not all is what it seems. It's clear to Freya that the antiques are all just poor reproductions and her fellow guests are secretive and menacing. What is going on in this estate and how was Arthur involved? More importantly, can Freya and Carol discover the truth before the killer strikes again? Well, that one was more of a cozy mystery. Now we move into a thriller, a Freda McFadden new title called The Teacher. Lesson 1, Trust No One. Eve has a good life. She gets up each day, gets a kiss from her husband Nate, and heads off to teach math at the local high school. All is as it should be, except last year, Kasem High was rocked by a scandal involving a student-teacher affair, with one student, Addie, at its center. But Eve knows there is far more to these ugly rumors than meets the eye. Addie can't be trusted. She lies, she hurts people, she destroys lives. At least, that's what everyone says. But nobody knows the real Addie. Nobody knows the secrets that could destroy her. And Addie will do anything to keep it quiet. Our fiction this week is a recently historical type novel, maybe. It's called The Women by Kristen Hanna. Women can be heroes. When 20-year-old nursing student Frances Frankie McGrath hears these words, it is a revelation. Raised in the sun-drenched, idyllic world of Southern California and sheltered by her conservative parents, she's always prided herself on doing the right thing. But in 1965, the world is changing, and she suddenly dares to imagine a different future for herself. When her brother ships out to serve in Vietnam, she joins the Army Nurse Corps and follows his path. As green and inexperienced as the men sent to Vietnam to fight, Frankie is overwhelmed by the chaos and destruction of war. Each day is a gamble of her life and death, hope and betrayal. Friendships run deep and can be shattered in an instant. In war, she meets and becomes one of the lucky, the brave, the broken, and the lost. That's all for our list this week. Let me know if you've tried any of these series before or you found a new one to add to your TBR now. If you enjoyed this one, consider checking out some of my other content and subscribe if you like my style. Thank y'all so much for being here. I hope you're finding something awesome to read today, and I'll see y'all in the next one.